All right, race fans, we are back. So is Bert. How about that? Episode 255 of the One to Go show. As always, we have the former editor-in-chief of the Full Throttle magazine, historian of Eastern Wisconsin racing, and connoisseur of the Shawano Speedway himself, and diecast extraordinaire Bert Lehman in the house. Welcome back, Bert. How the heck have you been?
I'm doing all right, but I don't think that some of those titles I'm worthy of. But
That's
thank you for
bullshit.
that.
It's my story and I'm sticking to it. All right. I tell you what, you got to give yourself some credit. And if you're not willing to, that's what we're here for. We'll give you all the
but
credit in the world.
but I'm doing well. But I'm starting to feel a little slighted. I mean, I'm not. I wasn't on the show last week. Coach was on the show. I'm back, and he's
Coach
not
wasn't on
here.
the show. Coach wasn't on the
Oh,
show.
he wasn't. Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
he's been boycotting us. See, he went to a WISSOTA meeting, and ever since then, I think maybe he got a gag order. Not really sure. So I think he's chumming up, right, with the higher ups, and we're just peasants, and he's not. I guess he's just not allowed to be friends with us anymore. Not really sure. My feelings are a little bit hurt. But I guess we'll have to get over it. But yeah, coach is a busy guy. He got a lot of sports. I think he's doing the sports thing with his daughter tonight. So he's been hectic. It's been crazy. And then we have a former pure stock track champion over at the Proctor Speedway, multi-time crew chief on the national championship team. Changa, how the heck are you?
Well, I'm doing all right, but I am too. I guess I'm also feeling a little slighted by Crush, and there's rumor that he's already kicked Man Bun Dan out of his golf foursome. So this is there's a lot of changes going on, and it's starting to disturb me a little bit.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess, right? I mean, we're just gonna have to adapt to life without him. It just is what it is. So, and we call him Crush not because Changa has a crush on him, because Crush crushes tires and front bumpers and body panels. And well, I mean, if you got a super stock, you raced against him, So we can pick on him. He ain't here, and if he was here, we'd pick on him even more. That's just the way it is. So, and as always, I'm Ryan Aho. So a little shout out, one of our sponsors here before we get rolling in the show. Impact Health Sharing. So, if you are in the market to pay for your own health insurance, maybe you got a family, maybe you're single, maybe you're just a couple, maybe you have a business, you have employees, you're just self-employed, whatever it is. If you got to pay for your own health insurance and you look every month and you're like, man, I am paying way more than I want to. We got high deductibles. We got crazy networks where I can't go to the doctor I want to. I might have an opportunity here for you to look at something that might be a better solution. It's called Impact Health Sharing, and very, very affordable monthly premiums, very affordable family orientated deductibles. You can go to any doctor you want anywhere in the country. It's been a great deal, and let us help you save some money. Insurance is crazy expensive, and if you can keep some of that money in your pocket to spend on cool things like racing or golf, like Changa mentioned, that's a hell of a lot better than giving it to your insurance person. I can promise you that. So hit me up. My number is 218-969-1380. You can call me, text me, message me on Facebook. However you want to get a hold of me, I can get you a quick, no obligation quote, get you all the information you need about Impact Health Sharing. So, Bert, number one off the board for Bert Lehman. You attended a race this past weekend. Tell us about the opening night over at 141. What are your takeaways from this past weekend's race for you?
Yeah, I went to 141 Speedway. It was either 141 or Dells Raceway Park by Wisconsin Dells in Wisconsin. Uh, Dells Raceway Park is an asphalt track. 141 is a dirt track. I had to deliver some die casts and take some photos of a car to make die casts of. So I went to 141 so I could do that stuff. They had 182 cars for opening night in 5 divisions, and the show started at 6, and well, it was cold. I left. Sorry, four bangers, but I missed your feature because I left after the modified feature. But I left about quarter after 10. I mean, that's not too bad for 182 cars, 6 to quarter after 10, with just a 4-banger feature to go. So they did a good job of running it through. The track had a little bit of character. It was good racing, but definitely colder. Because when I left home, it was like mid 50s, 60 degrees, no wind. Got the 141. I forgot about the Lake Michigan effect, and it was windy, and it was like 15 to 20 degrees cooler than it was where I live.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the wind off the Lake Chonga knows. I mean, Lake Superior's got exactly the same effect. I'd be up in Chisholm, Minnesota, basically 75, 80 miles north, 80 degrees out in the middle of the summer. You get down to Superior, it's 30 degrees colder. You're like, what the hell just happened? And you know it, but it slips your mind. So if you're a sport compact driver that raced this past weekend at 141, Bert Lehman, Lehman, give him all the hate mail. Bert, we expect you to jump online, watch the replay, give us a full report specifically on
I,
that race.
I did watch the heat races, but one thing I do have to say, I mean, 141, it's been probably 3 years since I've been there in person, and they have made a lot of improvements since I've been there. Um, on turns on outside of turns 1 and 2, that was their overflow area for pits. Um, but there wasn't anything fancy about it. They just sent the overflow over there. Now that whole almost all the area behind 1 and 2 is all pit area now, and it's fenced off, and it looks really nice, and they've added a lot of concrete behind the grandstands, so you're not walking in gravel, you're walking on concrete. So they're really improving their facility.
They have some pretty big shows over there. I mean, Coach ain't here, and we give him a lot of shit about, he whines about the format. But in all reality, I mean, they put some money up for some of them shows. I mean, 10 grand to win shows for multiple different classes, and they get big car counts from all over the country when they do it. So clearly, they're doing something right over there to get that kind of car count
Oh,
on opening night is impressive.
well, and the thing is too, Shawano was supposed to open last week, but they've pushed their opener to April 26th. Supposedly they're going to have a practice on this coming Saturday at Shawano, but so I was curious, about how many Shawano cars would go race at 141, and to my surprise, I mean, there's only 5 or 6 Shawano regulars that went over to 141. So I mean, 141 has 182 cars basically loyal to that track.
Yeah, they get big car counts all season, right? So I mean, yeah, I don't know what it is, right? I have not been there, but when you see that kind of turnout every week, it's probably worth making a trip over there to check it out. So I'm gonna have to put that one on the list. I have not hit any of those Eastern Wisconsin tracks, and been saying it for 5 years that we need to make that happen. So probably need to do that sooner rather than later.
Well, you can do it next week. You can come to Green Bay, hang out at the draft for a while, and then go to some races.
Never say never. We'll see where I'm at trucking. That is a possibility. That sounds kind of intriguing. I would dress up in full Viking garb going to Green Bay, of course. I don't know, it's enemy territory. I always feel a little bit
Well,
weird when I just even enter that area, but we'll see.
you dressed up in your Fran Tarkenton jersey when we went to the Viking Packer game a couple years ago.
I did, and from that game forward, Fran Tarkenton has started as many starts as the starting quarterback from the Vikings game that day. So I don't know. Maybe I'm bad luck. I don't know if I want to do that anymore. It was a win for the Vikes that day, but they basically ended their season on the same day. So I talk about the Cold Bird, kind of the same deal for me. I went down to Kankakee with the One to Go Show 83 ride. I went down there with Dave Dalsiak. They had their opening season practice, and basically tracks on practice night. Let's just say there's not a lot of track prep, right? So I can't give a real analysis of what the track was like because it was a gravel road, but they kind of all do that for practice. They usually don't, they want the track hard and trying to get a base. But got to turn some laps down there, made a few adjustments. Can't really learn a lot on a track like that, but car felt good, ran good, turned good. He said they got a 2,500 to win show this Friday night opening up for the stock cars. So pretty good payday for the street stocks. I'm going to go down there with Dave on Friday, weather permitting, knock on wood, and see what he can get done. Now, I will say this, it was super windy there too, Bert. I went down there, I was in shorts and t-shirt, I put jeans on, I didn't have a hoodie with me. I'm like, holy shit, is it cold? It was definitely whipping across there because there's, I don't know, they don't know what trees are down in that neighborhood. They just don't have them. Kind of like my buddy Waltz out there in South Dakota. Trees, big brown things, leaves, they don't have them. And I did notice this. I was up in the grandstands watching practice, and I turned back behind me. I'm kind of waiting for him to come out and observing, just kind of looking around, taking in some sights. And there's a building. It's at a fairgrounds, and there was an absolute ton of race cars in the building, right? Open side building, kind of a, I don't know, kind of a hut type deal. And I went down there. I'm like, what are all these Crown Vics doing down here? Like, what's the story here? Well, they have a Crown Vics class down at Kankakee, but they also have a deal to where, let's say Burt Lehman says, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to race. Not going to buy a car, but it'd be fun to maybe go try it. You can rent a car for $250 a night. Shout out to Dano. He actually got a hold of the track to get a little information. So you need to bring a helmet, your gloves, and $250, and you can race their car in the Crown Vics class. And I think they must have a dozen or so of them. So I looked at that. I'm like, that is super cool, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, man, I'd kind of like to try this racing deal, but I don't want to go spend 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever it costs to build a race car. But if you can do it for 250, that's kind of cool. Now, my mind just went bonkers, right? I'm sitting there going, boy, the things you could do, right? I mean, you could literally have, if you're like a manager of a, like Chonga's a manager at his tire shop, you could literally, in that scenario, you could get 8, 10 of your mechanics and be like, tell you what, here's the deal. We're going to do a team building deal. Company's going to pay for it. We're going to sponsor the night. And you 8 guys, 10 guys get to go race against each other one night at Kankakee, right? I looked at that. There's so much cool stuff that you could do. And Changa, you remember Johnny Hunker, right?
I saw you reached out to me.
Yeah, so Johnny Hunker is actually from up in Superior. His girlfriend lives kind of down in that area. Apparently, we all kind of want to, pick out Illinois people or whatever to date. And he said, well, holy cow, maybe we should both put in $250, go race against each other for old time's sake. I'm like, that might be kind of fun. I could probably get in and out of them ones a heck of a lot better than I got in and out of that B-Mod last year. So really cool deal they have. And, there's a lot of stuff they could do to kind of build the program, utilizing, firefighters versus policemen. They could do, hockey moms. They could do football coaches and quarterbacks against each other. There's a lot of things they could do on the promotion side. I don't know if they do that, but man, there's a lot you could do. But first time I've ever seen that. Bert, is there anything in eastern Wisconsin that has anything similar where they have cars like that where you can rent out and go race?
No, not cars like that. GSR Kartway, the go-kart track in Clintonville, they have kiddie carts that you can rent. So, if you have a small, 5-year-old kid who, you don't want to buy a cart, they say they want to race, but you don't want to spend all that money to buy a cart. You can rent a cart for the week and let your kid race to see if they're actually are interested in it or not.
Yeah, that's a heck of a lot better than going and buying a whole racing operation just to find out the kid is like, not really my deal. And it's like, yeah, bullshit. I just spent 10 grand. You're a race car driver. And it's kind of a cool deal. So shout out Kankakee Speedway. Hopefully the weather permits. We'll get down there Friday night, park that one to go show 83 in Victory Lane. So with Soda updates, 2025 season, guys, underway. Now, think about this, right? If you look at a map of Wissota country and you're like, all right, obviously one of the southern warm climate tracks is going to open up first, right? Nope. Devil's Lake Speedway, literally 10 miles from Siberia in the middle of absolute nowhere, right? Like absolutely middle of nowhere. Basically about an hour west of Grand Forks up there. We're talking one of the northernmost tracks. Obviously we got the tracks in Canada as well. but they got their season underway. So Nolan had the track in tip-top shape, and the late models went to the 1 TPO. Tyler Peterson, first winner of the year, got a clean sweep. Lucas Rodine in the Midwest Mods. Colton Brower took it home in the street stocks. Now, guys, one thing I'm excited about, heat race points are back, right? I'm so jacked up. So Colton Brower, he won the feature, okay? But he got third in the heat, 11 cars. Well, that's a 56-point show is what he ended up with. I believe it. Well, 55, not bad. That'd be a 55. 55-point show. Well,
Yes.
11 cars. I'm totally lying here. 11 cars, third in the heat, first in the feature would be a 54-point show. That's what that would be. 54. Trey Hess got a first and a second. Guess what? They're tied for the lead, right? So your current national point leaders are those drivers, but that's going to be a big change. And I never really took the time to do the math to see how things laid out. But when you start factoring in heat races for points, it's one thing to go out there, you win the feature, right? But if you get a clean sweep, that is significantly more important than going out there getting fifth in the heat and winning the feature. That might not even be a keeper in the points. And we've had a lot of people talk heat races, if they're not very meaningful, well, for the points racers, heat races are definitely meaningful again. So I just think that's pretty cool. So shout out to the Wissota tracks promoters for bringing heat race points back to the equation. Some of the best races I've seen are heat races points when they matter. If they don't matter, then they can't be too exciting. But when they do, heat races can be pretty good. Now, I got a question. So the Wissota 100. So shout out Devils Lake Speedway. Got a question. Wissota 100. So Bert, you've been a race fan a long time, and we talk about these multi-day shows, right? And I had a few people message me this just kind of out of the blue, so I figured I'd bring it up. So the Wissota 100 for the last several years, last few years, been over at I-94. They'd have a practice on Tuesday, okay, and then they'd have a full show Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the B mains, last chance deals in the A mains on Saturday. Okay. So racers are on a budget. That's a week, right? That's a long time. So in your mind, should they shorten it up? Should they get rid of a day and just make it Thursday, Friday, Saturday? As a fan, I mean, you look at the crowd, right? And the crowd typically on these multi-day shows, day one's not very good. Usually Wednesday's not good. Thursday's not good, maybe a little better, but Friday's a little better. Saturday's usually the day where you have a lot more people there. Do you think they'd be better served to maybe just eliminate a day, go Thursday, Friday, Saturday? As a fan, what's your thoughts on that?
As a fan, I would say yes. Just, I mean, like you said, I mean, people have a limited amount of vacation time that they can use. And it's not like the Wissota 100 is the only race that people are taking vacation for. I mean, people are taking vacation for races throughout, the entire summer, let alone, I mean, if they travel to other parts of the country, throughout the entire year. So now, when the Wissota 100, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. When it was at Cedar Lake yet, back in the '90s when MJ McBride used to race, and I went to some Wissota 100s. They did race on Wednesday nights, but it was a different division where they ran their entire show on Wednesday night, and then the rest, the late models and mods, I think, came in Thursday, and then the super stocks came in Friday. That way all the cars aren't there at one time. But even at that, that it's a long show. But at least then, depending on what division you're in, you don't have to be there that entire time.
You're correct. They ran, I think it was street stocks initially, and then when they started adding in classes, they'd run on Wednesdays as well. But as a racer, right? I was a super stock guy back then. We'd always get down there Thursday because we wanted to see the late model modified heats,
Right.
kind of hang out, do our thing on Thursday. We'd run our heat Friday, then run Saturday. Well, get this, right? You want to talk about not taking the temperature of the room? Not only did they not eliminate a day, they added a day. they're racing on Tuesday now too. So Challenge Series race Tuesday and Wednesday. So now they have a whole extra day of racing at the Wissota 100. It's I've had a lot of people reach out and I just kind of pushed it off and I'm like, I'll bring it up now. And we'll talk about it more obviously as it gets closer to the 100. But I had drivers reaching out and going, they're out of their mind, right? If anything, eliminate a day. Why are they adding a day, right? So they don't get a crowd. Maybe they got sponsors to offset it. I doubt it. So it doesn't really have a ton of sponsors. And the fact of the matter is, how that's just so much more work for the track prep crew too, right? I mean, that's one more day of racing. It's like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I'd love to hear everybody else's thoughts and in the comments or whatever, what you think. You know, did they make a mistake here? Did they really need to add another day of racing? Should they go Thursday, Friday, Saturday? What's everybody else think? I think they should go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's just me. But I would be curious to see what other people think. Changa, you got any thoughts on this before we jump to the next subject here?
Oh, so don't they do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Legendary?
They do. They do.
No, I know they have like a no heat race format or something goofy down there, and I don't know that that's the right answer either. But somehow or another, you need to make it financially feasible for these people too. I mean, not just the fans, but the drivers too. I mean, my God, they're tearing up equipment all week.
Yeah, I will say this. Originally I was super against their format at Cedar for the Legendary, but I kind of like it because they do time trials and the main feature obviously for both of them is Saturday. That's the main event. The Legendary 100 champion is who wins Saturday. Everything before that's a prelim. Wissota 100 champion is the person that wins Saturday. Everything else is a prelim. So everything else is just prelims to kind of set you up to get into the dance, right? And everybody runs a quality. You can call them heats, you can call them features. We'll just call them qualifiers. That's essentially what they are. So at the Legendary, everybody in each class time trials. They split them up into equal qualifiers, but they're paid qualifiers. They pay better than a regular night's feature, but not like super big for the qualifiers. And a little bit different format. And quite honestly, with that many cars, that many classes, if they had to run heat races and Bs and features every night, that track would be absolutely a dumpster fire. So I'm not really against it, but the actual Wissota 100 Saturday show pays significantly higher, even though they've chopped the purse over the last 5 years here multiple times. It still pays higher than the Legendary. But yeah, interesting deal. I don't know why they added another day. It just makes no sense. I really don't understand it. I would love to hear from somebody that's maybe in the know to kind of find out why, but I guess it is what it is. We'll see how she works out. So speaking of Cedar Lake and speaking of another track that opened, non-Wissota, they got their own deal, non-sanctioned. The Cedar Lake Speedway, they opened up this past Saturday night as well. And our buddy Dan Filto, a friend of the show here, he's in our Pick'ems contest. He actually went and kind of brought back a few tidbits. I don't know if I brought this to either one of your attention yet. I'll go quickly over like just a short little recap of the results here, and then if you guys have any thoughts, did either one of you watch the features or anything from Cedar Lake this past weekend? I know Changa, I know you watched the late models for sure. You watch anything else or?
Just bits and pieces off of people's Facebook feeds. I don't have Racing Dirt, so I wasn't able to watch
Right.
online. So.
Yeah, they did switch to Racing Dirt, and it sounds like they had a few bugs to work out there. I know that they're doing like a multi-camera angle, and it sounds like they didn't have the views set up. I'm sure they'll get that better. I know there was a lot of steam on social media about, oh my goodness, you got to get back to FYE TV, Dirt Race Central. You got to get back to that. It's a work in progress. I'd say give them a few weeks, and they'll probably kind of get that worked out, I would assume. So here's a couple interesting things. So in 2024, guys, well, let me put it this way. They had 25 late models, okay? How many do you think they had at their opening night last year?
Less. I think they had more this year than last year.
They had 14 last year. So a significant jump, right? So, and James G.O.A.T parked in victory lane, Cole Searing second, Pat Dorr third. Now, modifieds, last year, guys, they had nine late models opening night last year, 18 this year. Doubled it up. And the one to go show 40D, Blake Adams parking in victory lane. I believe that's his first ever A mod win. You know, he's typically a Wissota Midwest mod driver, going to run for an Addy, but he jumped in the A mod, held off a hard charging Lucas shot. Congratulations, Blake. Good to see that one to go show sticker in victory lane. Super stocks were down though last year. Remember, they were Wissota. They had 18. This year they had 12. The Ironman Shane Sobraski absolutely dominant in that one. B mod's about the same, a couple less this year. Cole Boston, I don't know if he's won a feature at Cedar, but young kid, progressively getting better. Kind of noticed him a little bit more last year, but you know, not Vandy Camp, not either one of the Jensens, right? Not they weren't the one winning. Cole Boston, you know, putting in victory lane. Congrats to him. And then the little hammer, Cade Nelson parking in victory lane in the USRA Lates, 13 last year, 17 this year, and Scott Brandt in the traditional sprint. So just a little recap of who won. Always fun to get them opening night wins out of the way, and first career win in an A mod for Blake Adams. Pretty cool deal. On the racing itself, okay, not a lot stuck out. The mod race was pretty good. Late model race was pretty good. Any tidbits? I got a couple things here, but Changa, any takeaways from opening night at Cedar Lake from the little bit that you saw? Bert, you said you didn't get a chance to really take in any action from Cedar?
Correct.
I guess the only thing I really took out of it, and I didn't see a lot of it, I saw a couple heat races, and the track was pretty racy for the heat races that I saw. And then just kind of the changing of the guard, the young guns winning everything, you know?
Yeah, and all different winners from last year. I think somebody had a prediction that probably didn't get that one right. I don't want to mention any names. I think that might have been you. Just saying. Just saying. But Dano went down and he was talking to some drivers down in the pits and just kind of overhearing some stuff and a couple things that come out of it. Now, one thing that Cedar Lake Speedway had here for the past handful of years, they had that no fault caution on a weekly basis. And I know Bert loves it. He's a big fan of it. Just kidding, Bert. I hate it. It's the dumbest rule ever, right? I mean, I get it. Sometimes there's a judgment deal where you're like, holy shit, like we watch it 10 times and we both have a different opinion. Them ones are tough, right? I mean, I get it. But a lot of times it's like Stevie Wonder could see that. Well, no more no fault caution rule at Cedar. They're going back to judgment calls at the Cedar Lake Speedway on a weekly basis. So the drivers, you know, voice their opinion over there, and the masses basically talk to the promoters over there, and they said, look, this is we can't be doing this. I mean, you know, when it's obvious, if it's questionable and you're not sure, fine, do your thing, but you know, whatever. But if it's obvious, you gotta make a call. So super cool to see them go back to making calls at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Now, I know they're not always going to be the right call, right? But it's better to at least make a call. And even if you get it wrong, it's better than just always getting it wrong by not making a call. So super glad to see that. Now, another thing, and this one here, I'm going to ask you guys your opinion if you might have thoughts on both of these topics, but we've been talking for a while. And Bert, let me ask you this. So more often than not, we're all pretty busy and we take in live streaming on TV, you know, on a lot of different late model races and national events. But if it's just a USMTS race, or, you know, not just, but I mean, if it's a USMTS race or a World of Outlaw race where it's maybe half the field is at Lucas Oil, half at World of Outlaws, and you get kind of busy, do you find yourself pretty often being like, I'm just going to watch the feature, you know, and maybe if I have time, I'll watch the heats, but a lot of times I just watch a feature because the heat races sometimes don't mean as much. Would you say that's fair? And
I would say that's fair.
and we're all kind of looking, you know, that's half the program. I think you mentioned 182 cars at 141, right? And it took about, what do you say, 3 hours roughly to get all the heats in? Is that fair? Somewhere in
Uh,
that vicinity?
um, Actually, probably a little less than that.
Yeah, two and a half or 2 or whatever.
I think it was a little over 3 to get all the heats and the consies in.
Okay. So with that said, if heats are meaningless, right? And there's no points, no nothing, and they have, like, for example, the point average lineup where you just basically got to finish fourth to get your spot. You find a lot of people going, I mean, that's 2 hours of boredom. They don't mean anything. Well, the Cedar Lake Speedway on a weekly basis, they're going passing points every single night of the year for their heat races to line up for the feature. Now, give me your guys' thoughts. Your initial thoughts before, and I have a couple thoughts, but I'm gonna let you guys go first. All classes, passing points. I don't know the formula. There's a few different formulas, right? But essentially, we all know what passing points is. Cedar Lake Speedway having passing points on weekly shows to line up the A mains. Changa, go ahead. What's your thoughts on this?
So I assume they're not time trialing. They're going to draw for where you start in the heat and then passing points up for that.
Correct.
I think as a points guy, if I'm running for track points, I would love that. I mean, it gives you throughout the course of the year. It just I feel like it's better for a points guy that's trying to win a track championship.
Bert, from the fan side of things, your thoughts when you initially hear this?
I like it because I mean, we've talked earlier in this show we talked about how now that WISSOTA's giving away points for the heat races, that the heat races are important, and that's the whole goal, is to make it important. And by doing passing points, that makes heat races more important, because you want to pass as many cars as you can to accumulate points to get a better starting position in the feature.
I 100% agree. Now, I'm going to say this, right? So the announcer, in my opinion, for this to kind of translate, they got to be on point. So, and I didn't really listen to see kind of how that was going, but hopefully they can get an announcer, or have that person informed and kind of have a chart and keeping people in the loop as to what's going on. And this person's got to finish here. The Chili Bowl was unbelievable how good they did in all the qualifiers, and they're like, okay, this guy started sixth and got second and he has this many points, and like they were really on top of it. Like they were fantastic. So if they need to, if they're going to do passing points, that would be a huge benefit, to make sure that announcer and somebody up in the booth maybe with them, kind of helping them along with that process, is keeping the fans, whether they're watching online or in person, informed as to who's going to be maybe sitting on the front row for the A main. I think that would be a cool deal. But man, as my initial thoughts on passing points was, the casual fan, they get confused. They really don't know how to follow it. But let's face it, how many casual fans really go to the races anymore, right? So what's more important to a casual fan? Drivers actually duking it out for position in heat races because they matter and they got to get to the front, or actually knowing where people are going to start in a feature? The casual fan doesn't give a shit about the lineup. They don't care. They want to see good, exciting racing. Passing points will, in my opinion, is going to provide better heat races, because, like you said, Bert, these drivers are looking at it and they're like, well, if I go from sixth to second, or whatever, if the farther I get forward from my starting position, the farther I'm starting up in the feature. That is plain and simple. And so hey, hats off to them for doing something different than everybody else and saying, you know what, we're going to try this. And if it don't work, they'll do something different later or down the road. But I think I'm initially, I think it's a pretty good deal. And, if you draw bad, guess what? Now you're not quite as bummed out, because you pass some cars, you're still going to move up in the feature. So pretty interested to see how that's going to be. And we'll be talking to some drivers that race at Cedar Lake throughout the season to get their thought process on how it's working out over there at the Cedar Lake Speedway. So let's give a shout out to our friends over in Ashland, Wisconsin. That's Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, home of the Galloper chassis. Of course, we ran a Galloper for a few years there in a modified, but Chris and the gang, they do so much for racing. The number one sponsor of the number one series in WISSOTA racing, the Northland Superstock Series, and they sponsor a lot of cars, tracks. I mean, you name it. The guy helps everybody out. Super passionate about racing. They build cars. They do custom sandblasting, powder coating, fabricating. You name it. They're parts vendors at several tracks. They can ship whatever you need to you. They do a really good job up there in Ashland. They're for the racer. So if you need anything racing related, get a hold of those guys. That's Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating in Ashland, Wisconsin. So, guys, let's jump into a little dirt late model discussion, okay? And I'm going to start with a hot take. I'm going to start right here, and I want your guys' thoughts, and we're going to jump into the race that happened the big race that happened this past weekend. My hot take on dirt late model racing is this: Illinois has the best late model racing in the country, and it's not close. Your thoughts?
I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
Well, that's no fun. Changa?
I mean, after the Illinois Speed Weeks they had 2 summers ago, where they showcased like 5 different Illinois bull rings, I I want to see any other state put up 5 tracks and compare the racing.
Yeah, it's must see. All right. I mean, I've been to a few of the tracks. I've watched almost all of them online, and the late model racing is just incredible. Changa, your thoughts when I say that comment?
But I think you're dead on with that last comment you made. It's like you watch late model racing. Late model racing, let's be honest, is only good on bull rings. I mean, it's kind of a bore on bigger tracks. And there's probably a few good ones in Iowa and Indiana, and there's good ones all over the country, but there's way more in Illinois, like you said. And boy, I tell you what, Farmer City and Fairbury, them places are gems. And Farmer City might be old and worn out and run down, but that boy, the way they put on a show every single time they go there.
Well, Bobby Pierce said a few years ago when they went to Boone, which is a really good modified and stock car track, Boone, Iowa. He said late models need a cushion. Late models need a cushion. If it's just smooth and dry, there's too much aero. They can't pass. It's just not exciting. They got to have something to rest that right rear on and throw sliders. Well, Illinois racetracks, they got water trucks. Okay. WISSOTA drivers probably wouldn't necessarily be big fans of racing down in the Illini state because you are on the chip. I mean, I was watching them heat races at the Illini 100. Holy shit, do they bring it? I mean, shit happens quick, fast, and in a hurry on those bull rings when they got some grip in the racetrack. So what happened this past weekend? Illini 100 down at Farmer City Friday, Saturday, and they had Mars Modifieds and they had the World of Outlaw late models. Night number 1, first career World of Outlaw late model win. Ethan Dotson, Bakersfield, California. Now he lives, I don't know, signing North Carolina or something now, but stand out in the modified, and he's won some races in the late model, but this is his first World of Outlaw race. Night number 2 was a little bit shocking to all of us. Night number 2, after a little altercation in the heat, we'll talk about that in a second, the Rocket Shep, Brandon Shepard from 11th. Like, we're talking like, I don't know if a Rocket's going to win a race all year. I don't know what the hell they're doing. They might be cooked. They might be done, washed. Not only did he win, he won from 11th, and he put an exclamation point on it. So, little context here. Night number 1, Cody Overton took a absolute digger in time trials. He rolled, and I wish Coach was on here because he noticed it right away. Did you guys see his head bouncing around like a rag doll inside that car when he rolled over in time trials night 1?
I watched the replays, and I mean, I don't know if there were other angles other than the one that I saw. I mean, his head came forward in the one that I saw. I didn't see it going any other directions, but maybe there's other angles that I didn't see.
Well, as far forward as it came, that head and neck restraint didn't look like it was really doing nothing. Let's just put it that way. That it's supposed to stop it from your head is not supposed to snap that far forward with a head and neck restraint on. Okay, so they're kind of looking at us like, did he not have it hooked up or not have it hooked up properly, or
Well,
they something to look at for sure.
Well, and that was during qualifying, right?
That
So,
was. That was.
so I'm not saying
Us,
anything, but
I just
I
say us racers sometimes aren't real bright. Let's just say that. And I'm not saying that he didn't have it hooked up. I don't know that, but it would not surprise me, right? I'm just saying. So yeah, you're right. There was no other cars on the track, right? It was definitely time trials, but you're hauling the ass in time
oh,
trials. I mean,
right,
you're ripping the
right.
lip. So I don't know. It was interesting. So yeah, seeing his head bounce around the way that it did was a little concerning. But on night number 2 in the heat race, he threw a haymaker on old Sheppy in the heat, battling for the lead, and got Sheppy up over the top. And long story short, Sheppy ends up turned around a little bit later because of another contact that happened because of that initial contact. Sheppy was
Well,
pissed,
well,
pissed,
we
pissed.
we almost had a Tyler Erb incident.
We did. He pulls back up on the track and he knows, head on facing Cody Overton. I'm like, well, we all saw B Chef's dad, Super Chef, throw haymakers at Tyler Carpenter's dad. So there's a little feistiness in that family. And I'm sitting there going, oh boy, right? Is this gonna be bad deal? Like what's gonna happen? And he basically let Cody Overton know, like, I'm pissed. And he threw some haymakers in the heat to get himself in to a transfer position to move himself up. He had to come from the back because he got put to the back. And there was no fucks given in the feature. He was absolutely on a mission. The question I have for you is this: did Cody Overton depussify Brandon Sheppard and Wake a Sleeping Giant? Because Brandon Sheppard's one of the best drivers in the country, without question, bar none, very accomplished. But he just hasn't, in my opinion, shown the eye of the tiger, that grit, that I'm going to go the extra mile and I'm going to throw that close slider. He's to me, it was like he's trying to be the nice guy and drive hard, but with respect and not piss anybody off. I think he put that to the side for the feature and said, "I'm fucking winning. Okay, I'm going to the front. I'm winning." Did Overton wake a sleeping giant?
Absolutely, that night he did. I mean, no question about it. I mean, but I think that you hit the nail on the head, right? He had to be declassified. He's always had this reputation of like really clean, and yeah, we all know his talent. There's a reason he wins championships because he never makes mistakes and he doesn't wreck out of races. But the young guys in this day and age, the game has gotten younger, and all them guys are super aggressive and they can freaking flat out get up there and rail just the way he did a few years back, right? I mean, and now he's just kind of settled down into trying to be smooth Brandon and not wreck equipment. And I think he needed to get back to his roots and just get up there and give it.
Well,
Bert?
actually, I think Brandon Sheppard watched the One to Go show 2 weeks ago, and he got pissed at Ryan Aho because Ryan threw Rocket One in the grave, started throwing dirt on it on the grave site, and said that they're not going to win another race ever. And well, didn't say that, but implied that.
Hey, what
So,
happened? We don't have the not hot, the hot, not
well,
hot right now, but
well,
that's
Bring
kind of
that,
and
I'm
and
just
I
saying,
think and I
it's
think
what we do.
another driver that we'll talk about later, I think, watched the same show.
right?
True, true. Yeah, for sure. Different class. So, but yeah, hell of a run for Sheppy and a good Rocket One and a good Brandon Sheppard is good for dirt late model racing. You can't have like everybody fast in the Longhorn. Nothing against Longhorn, but you got to have a little bit of, they got to have a little competition. So him being relevant is good. Now, he's got an opportunity this weekend. 3 Mars races, kind of not too far away from where he lives. He's got to repeat that, right? We don't want this to be like, oh man, he was awesome at the Illini and then disappeared for 2 months, right? So we'll see how this translates, but he was dang good Saturday night. Now, any other takeaways? I got a couple others here, but anything else? I know you guys watched all the racing at Farmer City. What other takeaways might you guys have from the Illini 100 this past weekend?
Well, so the first night there, when Dotson won, he won that race from ninth. It ain't like he started up front. I mean, he won from ninth, and he drove by some good cars to get there. And not only when he got there, he navigated lap traffic with RTJ behind him, and RTJ couldn't do anything with him. He didn't make any ground on him whatsoever. Um, Then they got the World of Outlaw points race thing going on. You got Pierce started 15th, got in a wreck on lap 10, went to the back, which was 22nd at the time, and was able to rally back to 6th, which, in the grand scheme of things, it put him ahead of Gustin and Hoffman and just stretched out the lead a little bit more, right? And then let's see what else I got here. The second night, that battle, behind the lead. Well, the Sheppy was in the battle behind the lead for a long time. Troutman led that race for a good portion, and there's another young kid that's really, really been in contention a lot lately. And that it seems like for once that ride's got someone that wants to be in it, and they're kind of got a little chemistry going. But yeah, that battle in the top 5 was incredible, and they were swapping positions back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And once Sheppy got the lead, Bobby drove the wheels off that thing. And I don't think his car was as good, but we were all kind of just waiting. All right, when's Sheppy gonna make a mistake? When's Sheppy gonna get held up by a lap car, and then Bobby's gonna throw a haymaker and steal this thing from him? And Shep just never did that. He looked like the champion that he was in years past.
Yeah, and he said, right, he's like, we've been close, right? Everybody's down on us, and they hear the noise, right? He's kind of in his conversation, he hears the noise, right? And he's like, we're like, I've been saying we're close, right? And they're calling us dead. In fact, did you see the top 3 interview after the feature of the second night there, Bert? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
They were interviewing Pierce, and Pierce is like, when I got there, like when I was side by side with Sheppy, I didn't know if are we battling for position here, or is he
Wow.
lapped, because they ain't been very good. And Pierce's pit guy was over there, and he kind of looked at him and he kind of smirked like, holy shit, he just said that. Like, but that's, quite honestly, that's kind of where Sheppy's been. It's like he's been lap traffic. He ain't been very good. And he's like, holy shit, Sheppy's here. Wow. Like, is he Latin? No, maybe not. Like, so we're not the only ones that kind of threw him under the bus, like said that they might be dead. A lot of the racers are like, maybe he's not quite relevant anymore, but he proved to be definitely relevant Saturday night. Bert, any take? Go ahead, Changa. Anything else?
I guess the only other real takeaway I had from the weekend is Moran's weekend. He was a contender to win both nights, right? He starts on the pole, leads some laps, has some bad luck. The second night, he was slicing and dicing up there and bent something in the front end, ended up spinning out and going to the back. And then on the way home, the hitch breaks off of his shirt trailer. And they had a kind of a nightmare weekend with a car that was in contention to win both nights.
Well, night 1, he was leading.
Mm-hmm.
He's winning. I don't remember. There was a lap car in front of him that spun out. I don't remember who the heck. I don't remember who it was. Was it Chamberlain? Was it Tristan Chamberlain?
Yeah, Chamberlain and somebody else got together, and then Moran stopped on the track.
Yep, and that's the dumbass rule, right? He literally had nothing to do with the incident. He basically stopped and spun out to avoid everything that happened ahead of him, but because of the no-fault caution, he went from being in first place to going to the back and saying, I'm done with that. I'm going to pull off, because he's not battling for World of Outlaw points. There's no sense him going back to 23rd. Pierce had a good run. Pierce got a flat in that same race, drove back up to 6th, but he's racing for a championship in World of Outlaws. Devin Moran is not. There's no reason at all in a 7, I think was it a 10,000 to win race night 1? I think it was 10,000 night 1. There's no reason at all for him to go back to 23rd and try to get back to the front. Makes no sense. He did the right thing by pulling off. Bummer. But then he was battling. I think he was in 4th, and I don't know what happened, but he spun out by himself night number 2, and kind of the same thing. And then, yeah, Changa, like you said, the frickin' hitch breaks on the souvenir trailer. Nobody got hurt, but yeah, one of those weekends where he's like glad it's over. Let's move on to the next one for sure. So, Bert, what takeaways might you have that we haven't touched on yet from the Illini?
Well, Changa covered most of mine. Ethan Dotson winning his first outlaw race, and then Troutman having good runs. But I do want to say, Bobby Pierce didn't get any victories over the weekend, and I don't think he's going to win again this season until he gets rid of that Chicago Bears helmet.
Well,
Does he have a Chicago Bears helmet?
Well, he's been posting on Facebook, doing the tear offs and stuff, and it's a Bears helmet.
We
no,
need to
it's-
message him and tell him. I mean, that's almost as stupid as having a Packer helmet, like literally. So let's face it. We're talking about helmets. Victory Lane, first night out this year, modified, one to go show sticker. Blake Adams got a Vikings helmet. I'm just saying, fast. That's fast. Okay, that's how you win races. That's how you win. And he lives in Wisconsin. Dad raised him right. Tip of the cap, Buzzy Adams, raising your kid right. Vikings fans in the Adams household. Yep, give him a big skull.
Oh,
Congratulations.
You know what? Mom is from Minnesota. Maybe she's the smart one.
Who is?
His mom is from Minnesota.
Well, Blake's mom is, but yeah, Buzzy was a Vikings fan before that. That's probably why she married him, actually. I'll be honest. So, but Bert, you are right. I mean, we have common ground. Vikings and Packers both hate the Bears, so there could be something to that for sure. But speaking of Minnesota, a couple Minnesota drivers, a little shout out here. How about Dustin Sorensen? Nice solid top 5 finish at the Illini 100. He rolled out. He got a 5th place finish. So a very, very strong run for Dustin Sorensen. And results weren't great, but there was a surprise entrant at the Illini 100. The B1 Bombers kid, 3rd generation racer, Matthew Larson, got his debut behind the super late model. And you want to talk about throwing a kid to the frickin' wolves, right? You know, let's not put him on Deer Creek or something that's a little bit more tame, right? Let's go to Farmer City where you're ripping the lip and you're freaking wide open on a cushion. Holy shit, right? Boy's got balls to get his feet wet there, but good to see him. I guess I haven't talked to Brent. But if he raced that race, I mean, would you guys expect to see him throughout the rest of the season, maybe making a few more starts at the super late model? Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything, but I mean, if they're at some midweek shows or whatever, and the car count's a little low.
Oh, he had a super late model engine. It wasn't a crate motor in there. He was running his yeah. But but that was a number 8. So they had that car set up. That wasn't even a B1. That wasn't him like in Brent's backup car. That was a number 8 on the side of that one. So
I heard who they that car from too, and I just can't, it escapes me, but it was someone else's car that they had gotten and put some stuff in. I would expect them to be at, Cedar Lake, Deer Creek, places like that close to home. I don't know, unless, he's already out of the points race at Cedar Lake. So,
right.
Yeah, I would expect him to do some of the places close to home. Christ, it could happen this weekend for all we know. They could be in Iowa this weekend.
Yeah, very well could be. So kind of cool to see him out there, another young gun from Minnesota. We got to get some Minnesota wins. Let's just face it, Minnesota and Wisconsin right now in the super late model world, it's been tough. It's been a struggle here the last few years to find victory lane. Boy, it'd be nice to see one of them guys. My odds on bet is the first one of this whole group right now to score a win, probably going to be Dustin Sorensen. I think he's probably the leading favorite in that. So another late model race that happened, Diamond and Dirt Tracks down there, Lucas Oil Speedway, Wheatland, Missouri. They had the Spring Nationals down there, double header, $7,000 to win night 1, $20,000 to win night 2. And if I said, JD leading that race, ain't gonna win it, you guys would be like, bullshit. That's JD's house. He don't lose there. That's his place. Hudson O'Neal drove by him twice to win both nights down in Wheatland. Let me ask you this. Will this create enough momentum and confidence for him to be a true contender, right? Not can he, because we know he can. Will he make the Final Four in Lucas Oil?
Well, first off, I want to say, so he's got 4 races with the new crew chief, right? Jason Durham comes aboard, new crew chief. First weekend, he goes out there and he looks like he's got a chance to win. First night, he gets a 5th. Second night, he DNF, got 25th, but he was battling for the win. Probably had a second place car, and he looked like it just looked like a different car. He was way better. Then he goes out and, it wasn't a super deep field of all-star drivers, but he drove by, one of the best at a place that he's really good at to win night one. And then he drove by JD and then Overton both to win the second night. They've obviously got that thing going in the right direction. Now he's sitting like eighth in the points or seventh or eighth in the points. I think eighth. But he's, top three is unattainable. But I think, that could he make up some ground? I feel like it's going to be a battle between, if Shep's back. I mean, Shep could weasel his way back in there too. It could be an Overton, Huddy, Shep battle for that last playoff spot. I mean, all it takes is one DNF for Overton, and they're right back with him. I mean, so yeah, I think. Long story short, could he do it? Yeah. Is it likely? Maybe not. But I sure as hell hope he makes it interesting because that makes racing a lot more fun.
For sure. I don't want all Longhorns in the Final Four. I would love to see anything other than all Longhorns, whatever it may be. So, Bert, is Hudson O'Neal going to make the Final Four?
I'm going to say no. But I mean, he's going to be in contention until the end. I mean, I just don't think he's going to make it. But this is the other driver I was referring to. You were throwing dirt on him too 2 weeks ago on the show. And, how do you, yeah, he's struggled a little bit, but I mean, he's got a lot of talent. He's got a team that has resources. So he's going to be contending for race wins, and he's going to be contending for the top four. I don't think he's going to make the top four, but he'll be in it until the end.
Not only did he win at Wheatland, he absolutely curb stomped them both nights. He drove away. It wasn't even a challenge. When he got the lead, gone. And that's not even in my mind, right? From what I've seen, I'm used to Huddy ripping the lip, right? I'm like, that's not even his kind of track. Yeah, and he was dominant. So, yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. But great weekend for the 71. Good to see a blue 71 fast. Another thing that came out here, late models. Last thing I got, late model topic is, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. New right rear tire for the super late models, okay? And essentially it's an inch wider, softer sidewall, and the blocks have the drill holes in them like the sprint car for the air bleed or whatever to not blister. So apparently they're supposed to have more grip because of this, softer sidewalls, wider stance of the tire.
And I think the sidewalls are taller also.
Yeah, yep. The sidewalls are taller. And I think JD mentioned on there, it's like, well, shit, if we're making a new tire, why don't they come grooved and siped so we don't have to pay a freaking tire guy if they're already done? That would be super. They can do it. Changa, you work in the tire industry. Do tires come siped nowadays? There's a lot of tires that come siped, don't they?
Almost every single one of them.
Yep. So they can do it. I don't know why Hoosier doesn't. It would be outstanding if they came pre-siped. That would save so much work.
Well, I read an article and the Hoosier rep said, well, we can do that, but the sanctioning bodies need to order them that, or they need to ask for them that way.
That's probably valid.
Some of them have rules against grooving and siping, but none of your touring late model series. I mean, this tire is specific to your touring series. This isn't
right.
And like JD had talked about, is like, well, they're building this for your regional and local series. I don't know if I buy into that. I mean, he makes some sense of, they're just trying to make a tire that grips better so it can compete with American Racer on a regional level so that American Racer doesn't steal their business. And there could be a lot of fact to that. But at the end of the day, this tire is only made for the super late model teams that are in the, so I don't know if I'm buying into it, but it's going to make a difference in the handling of some cars. Some guys are going to have to do some adjustment to it. I mean, it's going to build some side bite that, on the right rear that they ain't had before. And, some of these teams that have been able to figure that out on their own might have to adjust now. And that could get interesting.
Well, two things here. So first of all, I'm not sure if WISSOTA is going to adopt this deal. I have not heard. So I'm not sure. I've had a few people ask, is WISSOTA going to go to that right rear? I don't think so, but I'm not 100% positive on that. But I got a question. Is this tire is specifically designed for more grip? That's their theory. More right rear dig. I don't think we need more grip in these frickin' race cars. We need less grip, right? They're all tractioned up. They all have all this aero. I mean, we're making them frickin' foolproof. Now the cream is still going to rise to the top, right? The best guys are still going to be the best guys, plain and simple. But holy crap, is it really necessary to design a tire with more grip? I mean, freaking cars already got enough grip. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you're 100% right. The cars, along with needing less grip, they need less aero, less a whole bunch of things, right? But one other thing that I wanted to touch on was some of the guys, I believe it was Cosner that was testing these tires, and maybe a couple other guys. They claimed it's more like some of the old, tires from years back, right? Where it it don't leave as much rubber in the track. It grips better, and tracks that were on this tire years ago never took rubber until they went to the newer tires. And now with the newer tires, they're taking rubber sooner, more frequently, and they think this tire might be easier on track surfaces as well.
Boy, that would be good, right? I mean, a lot of these tracks that don't put enough water down, I mean, they lock down quick, fast, and in a hurry. If there's no cushion in a dirt late model race, if it's a 50 lap or longer feature, it's probably about 80% of the time it's going to latch. It just is. So if that happens to be the case where it doesn't put as much rubber down on the track and latch the track down, that would be good for racing. I could stand behind that for sure. Bert, any thoughts on this before we jump off?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on it a little bit. I'm not sure they need to focus so much on the tires as they need to focus on some of the body rules if they want to make racing have more passing in the races.
They've done it before, right? I mean, Bert, you've been around racing a long time. Some of our favorite racing was the late models back in the 80s and wedge late models, big sideboards, right? And all that. They look cool, but they realized then that holy shit, this is a problem, right? There is way too much aero advantage here. Nobody's passing anybody. That aero is a bad deal. They got rid of all that before. Something that maybe they can do again. I mean, if enough late model teams out there say that it's an issue, it's something that they might address. So I would agree with you that they need to do something about the air for sure. So let's jump into an open wheel roundtable. And a couple different things happen in the open wheel world. Start with the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. They had a pair of races down Pevely, Missouri at the I-55 Speedway down there. And I guess the winner, I mean, the big, did Changa leave us or what?
I lost you there for a second. You guys just went blank on me.
Holy shit, Chonga's changing spots and doing all kinds of magic
No, I didn't
tricks
change
here.
spots. I was like, did a kid? I was like, son of a bitch! A kid went and reset the Wi-Fi on me or something. They're trying to play video games.
And Ryan, are we still recording? Because I lost my record thing in the upper corner.
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So I-55, the big winners on this one, Logan Schuchart, Carson Macedo, they got first and second each night. So Schuchart got second night one, first night two. Macedo got first night one, second night two. So they had the big weekends. But here's something that was interesting to me is there's a driver that maybe had their worst week and a driver that maybe had their best week of the year, and they had the same results. Isn't that crazy, right? So David Gravel got a third and a sixth. Now, Changa, you'd mentioned how many top fives in a row did David Gravel have going into that second night at I-55?
When I said the stat a few weeks ago, I want to say it was like 18-ish.
It was a lot, 15 plus, somewhere in that. But he had a significant streak of consecutive top five finishes. That come to an end. And track was garbage. Awesome night one. Garbage night two. Garbage. I mean, just absolute lockdown train race, which is unfortunate. That place is awesome. They needed to completely farm that track. Probably, I mean, it was super. They had some wind down there too, but night two was awful. And that's how streaks like that end. You get on a track that's not very good and it latches up. But Donnie Schatz, he got sixth night one, third on night two. Guys, this is his first podium finish since October 12th of 2024 when he won at Lincoln. That's the last time that Donnie Schatz had a podium. So that's good to see, right? That's good to see. So Donnie Schatz with a solid weekend, but crazy how that's somebody's worst weekend of the year, somebody's best weekend of the year. They had the same results. Interesting how that happened. Tale of two teams right there. But will that translate for Schatz? I get it. Track wasn't very good, but is Schatz trending up? Could we see him over the next few weeks? Knoxville coming up. Should we expect to see Donnie Schatz running up in the top three over the next few weeks here, moving forward?
Well, I think the key is hopefully, and I don't know if it's the engine or if it was just a matter of circumstance, the guy don't qualify worth a damn, and he's never been a great qualifier. But I think I saw a stat where he's qualifying. I think he's got what, 4 races with the Chevrolet engine. He's qualifying like 1.76 positions higher or some damn thing like that. Being qualified better and start a little closer to the front, get into some dashes. I mean, he's always good come feature time, but he's always playing from behind the 8 ball. He's like, he's starting 18th and passing, 12 cars to get set, 6th or something. If you can get into some dashes and start up front, and then you have Hoosier winning races when they lock down halfway through. I mean, you got some opportunities to get some top fives. We're going to
Yeah.
Knoxville, a place he's won a whole bunch of times at, and they probably have different rules for him there or something. I don't know, but just like Del Toro. But yeah, I mean, I have hope at least that he's going in the right direction.
Well, they call it Schattsville over there for a reason. He's good at Knoxville. He's good, but we'll see if he's trending up or down. I mean, Donnie Schatz, a local guy. He was former Wissota driver, right? So we want to see him run up front every week. Bert, did you watch any World of Outlaw sprint car racing this weekend?
I did not, but I will say that one weekend does not make a trend. He's got to do this for a few weekends before there's a trend. But he is going to Knoxville, which he usually does pretty good at. So we'll see if he can turn a good weekend into a trend.
I hope so. That's one thing. I mean, same thing goes for Sheppy. Same thing goes for Huddy, right? One good weekend doesn't make a trend. Let's see if they can continue that on. USMTS modified racing this past weekend, Hamilton County Raceway, Webster City, Iowa. It was the Rodney Sanders show. Rocket Rodney Sanders doubling up in the points race right now. Jim Chisholm had a pretty significant lead. They are now tied for the point lead. They are tied. So a lot of racing to go. But Sanders making an absolute statement. Night number one was unbelievable race up front between Brandon Davis, Kyle Strickler, and of course Rodney Sanders. Sanders coming out on top. That was highly entertaining. Night number two, Strickler blew up. Night number two, wasn't he leading, Changa? Strickler blew up leading, didn't he?
Yeah, well, TBJ led early, and he ended up getting into a lap or leading, cut down a tire, right? And then I think that gave the lead to Sanders, and Strickler chased him down, and that thing was smoking for like 5 laps, but he chased him down, and thing holds together. He's going to win the race, and grenaded, not too far from the end. And boy, I tell you, he had an opportunity to win both nights, that Strickler did, and he's fun to watch. And God, he just, like you said, he either freaking finishes in the top 3 or finishes in the bottom 3. That's kind of his thing.
Yeah, and I mean, an engine deal's not his fault, but that's just kind of the story of his career, right? He's either right up front or DNFs, crashes, something stupid happens. Rodney Sanders, quite the opposite. Sanders is kind of that guy that he'll get his wins, but he's usually ultra consistent, pretty much a top 5 guy all the time. He's that guy. Tale of two different things. Jim Chisholm's kind of typically that way too. He's kind of that run the middle T-Mac style racing. So it's going to be an interesting point battle there. Strickler kind of put himself behind the 8 ball with a couple DNFs that blow an engine, but it's going to be fun, right? You see Rodney Sanders, Jim Chisholm duking it out for a championship. That could be good stuff right there. I want to give a shout out to Alex Williamson, the Rushford Rocket. Good kid. I actually know his dad, Tim, and boy, guys, he had a really, really good weekend. Night number one, he gets a flat tire, has to go all the way to the back. He charged all the way back up to fifth from dead last on night number one. Night number two, he had to come through the B, got second in the B. He drove it up to fourth. Quietly, a top five guy, like all the time. Like he's there. I don't know that he's necessarily going to contend for a championship, but he has been extremely solid to start 2025. And two good rebound finishes had to have been very fun. If you're a Williamson fan, watching your driver carve through the field and crawl into the top five from deep in the field 2 nights in a row, that's a hell of a run there for Alex Williamson. And I know Dano was he went to night number one. He was at one of them races as well. And he said it was absolutely excellent racing down at Webster City. Did I know Changa you watched? Bert, you said you didn't get a chance to watch USMTS. Car counts were low, mid to high mid 20s, 25, 26 cars. We're only in freaking April and they're already kind of in the low mid 20s or whatever. Should we be concerned? Is that gonna be a trend? Should we expect to see car counts dipping for the USMTS? There's still hell of a quality of cars, but just not quantity of cars. Your thoughts?
Where were they racing?
Iowa, heart of modified racing.
Well, if Iowa tracks were opening up with their IMCA regular shows,
But the IMCA guys don't run USMTS because they're so different, So it's kind of it's more of the USRA. It's more of the USRA cars, and I don't think a lot of the USRA tracks in the area were open. So a lot of the USRA cars weren't there. So yeah, interesting to me. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see.
Okay. Here's a question for you. Well, there was one kind of Brandon Davis went down there in his first night. He ran really good. But let me ask you this: does it play any part that we haven't got a parts truck or a fuel truck at the racetrack, and some guys that haven't already got their stuff or they can't even go and race?
That was interesting, right? So we always in our later years anyway, we kind of carry the stuff, and I'm guessing most of the touring teams already have their stuff. But Bert, when's the last time that you saw a race weekend with no parts truck, no fuel at the track, no tires, no parts, no nothing? I don't know what happened there, but no parts truck at the USMTS race at the Hamilton County Raceway there in Webster City.
I mean, I guess, that would be kind of understandable for a local show, to happen once or whatever. But I mean, you have a national show coming in. You have to have a parts truck there.
I was flabbergasted. I saw that post and probably didn't have an impact on car counts because racers are pretty resourceful. If they were going, they'd find a way to get what they need. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. But yeah, I'm not sure what the story was, why they didn't have one, but the fact is they didn't have one. They need to get Fastlane Motorsports over in that area. They would have showed up. Okay, Chris and the gang would have been there. I promise you that. Hey, speaking of Iowa, one quick thing here. Iowa legislation. Did you guys see did you see that deal online? So it's been an ongoing thing for years in a lot of different places, right? The racetrack's been there, it's established, they race every week. Some jackass moves in, they're going to buy a house, half a block from the racetrack. Then they call the city, they're like, oh, the races are too loud and they're keeping me up and I can't sleep. Why'd you buy a house by a racetrack? Well, what are you talking about, right? I guess they passed legislation in Iowa to protect racetracks from these type of lawsuits from people that have moved in after the racetrack's already been there.
Did they pass it or was it introduced?
When I read it, it looked like it passed.
Okay.
Yeah, it passed. So that is awesome. And that's what makes Iowa government, all right, pretty darn good, right? Racing friendly. A lot of dirt tracks there in the great state of Iowa. So that was pretty cool. And maybe somebody needs to talk to legislation in the state of Minnesota, maybe the state of Wisconsin, and say, hey, look what they did over here in Iowa, right? Now, we don't race every freaking, we don't race every night all week, all year long. But if the track's been there and you move in and you don't like the noise, you shouldn't have moved by a racetrack. Just is what it is.
That it'll never become law in Minnesota or Wisconsin as long as those two states have the current governors that they have.
So here's something that I do know. We've got a guy that's a friend of the show here and a good friend of ours. We call him Man Bun Dan, right? Well, I know he's really, really tight with Tim Walls. And I think he's gonna put that in his ear to see if they can get that done in Minnesota too.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna leave that one alone. He ain't gonna like you anymore. I'm just gonna say that. Man Bun Dan, we love you. All right. We do. Changa, I don't know what his deal is here. I
do too. I just haven't.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Oh, that's good stuff right there. All right. So 2025 Pick'ems brought to you by our friend Brad Parson, Brad Parson's Soil and Ag Solutions. So hey, planting season is amongst us. It's that time of year. And if you're in farming, what do you want? You want to make money. You want to make money, right? How do you make money? Higher yields. How do you make higher yields? Well, you got to have the right stuff in those spray packages. Who has that? Brad Parson. Brad Parson's a racer himself, been in the racing industry for a long time. He's raced a lot of different classes, and he wants to help people, especially those in the racing community that are tied to racing. If you're in farming, why not go to somebody that's probably got something in common with you, right? And so if you're Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking for something different, you're looking for something that's proven, he's got all the data points. Why not give Brad a call at 320-219-3542 to learn about all the great products that they have and try it out this year? Maybe not your whole farm, but take a parcel of your land and say, you know what, let's try it here. Let's see what kind of data we can get. But give him a call, give him a try, see what he can do for you, see if you can make some more money in your farming endeavors. That's Brad Parsons, Soil and Ag Solutions. So couple things on the weeks here. So this past week, coach, our current point leader coach, plus 15. We should dock him 10 points for not being on the show, like 10 points a show for missing, essentially. But he had a big week. Bert, you had the second best week. You and Beefcake. Old Beefcake. You and him both had plus 12. And then we had Little Walls. That's my buddy Josh Waltz. Somebody typed in Walls, and it stuck. And incidentally, unlike Man Bun Dan, he's not a fan of Walls, and he's glad he lives in South Dakota. But Little Walls and Changa, you both had 11. And then looks like Worker Bee, Uper, and Rain Man all had plus 10. And then there's a few other people that had 9 and whatever. Dano had 9 and Bromance had 9. I had freaking 6. 6 points. 6. What the dude, I suck at this deal. Like I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I kind of know what I'm doing. Okay, my points show that's bullshit. Now the only thing I'm thankful for, guys, is we let a tardy into the group, okay? Into the Pick'ems group. You know why we did that, Bert? Because I knew dang sure I wasn't going to lose to a fucking tardy. All right? That's why I did that. So I got my buddy JR, and I said, he's the token tardy in the group so that I don't have to get laughed. So JR, thank you, okay? Because he only got 3 points this week. So I doubled him up. But Coach kicked the shit out of me, and the rest of you guys doubled me up. But thank you, JR Tardy, for joining the group so I don't have to get last place. Appreciate that. So our current points right now, Coach is leading. Big lead, 12-point lead right now. He's kind of doing the runaway. Probably going to run.
He's going to hit a tire.
He is. Yeah, he is. We're not really worried about him. He can't finish. It just is what it is. So, Changa, you're in second, 146. Rain Man caught me. I'm nervous because Rain Man is Rain Man. He's freaking good at this deal. We're tied at 141 in third. 3-way battle right now. You got Dan, Lil Walls, and Bert. You're all at 133. Then we got Uper at 129. incidentally, I called him up this weekend. I'm like, "Oh, I suppose you just got done shoveling snow." He goes, "Well, you're trying to be funny, but we just did get 5 inches of snow." Why he lives up in the middle of Lake Superior in the UP is beyond me. I have no idea. But he got 129, Worker Bee 128, Man Bundan 118, JR 112, Beefcake and Bromance still trying to break that 100 mark. So, yeah. So what do you think there, Changa? We used to do this, Bert, when we were racing the Super. Me and Changa would come back. We're starting 12th in the feature at Hibbing, and we'd look at the lineup and we'd be like, okay, we're going to do this here, pass this guy here, 2-3 laps, we're going to get to the front. That was kind of a challenge for us. How many weeks before you pass up Crush?
Guess it doesn't really matter as long as I'm ahead at the end.
God, you're turning into a politician. That's unbelievable.
I do got one.
That is not talking shit in any way, shape, or form.
I know I'm gonna like Crush is doing a fantastic job. He's one of my best friends, and I really miss him on the show and all that stuff. But
will you give Teresa her purse back?
Right. No.
Right.
It's he's got me a little bit worried. He actually is trying this time around. Instead of trying to be contrarian, he's just doing gravel, Pierce, RTJ, like the rest of the guys that finish in the front, right?
I gotta quit putting his picks in for him, I guess.
Right. I did have one more thing to offer. I know why Jeff lives up in the UP.
Well, yeah, because he has a better half and like she runs the household.
Gina is trying to get him into shape shoveling.
That could be. Round's a shape. I mean, he fits in right with the rest of us here.
This is true.
Don't be
my wife that.
You need to stop talking about that. Otherwise, we're all gonna end up stuck living up in that shithole. All right. Right. So, like, don't be giving anybody no ideas. Stop talking.
Each company is subjective, just so you know.
Yeah, stop talking. We do not I don't want to be stuck living up there. Like, I have no ideas. We don't need to give anybody any ideas. So here's the races we're picking this weekend. We got 3 Mars late model races. Hawkeye Land 40 at the Cedar County Raceway. That's Thursday. Probably show should be out today, so that'll be tonight. Friday, Saturday, Slocum 50 at 34 Raceway. World of Outlaw Sprints doubleheader at Knoxville. Northern All Stars Late Model Series, James Essex Series. Of course, we all know him from the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models. That's his series. They're having the inaugural Marvin O'Neill Memorial, which would be Hudson O'Neill's grandpa that passed away. So that's a memorial race at Paragon Speedway. 10,071 to win that one. Spring Nationals, Schaefer Spring Nationals, I-75 and Tazewell. The Tazewell is massively banked. High bank track down in Tennessee. UMP Dirt Modifieds, Gary Cook Jr., who I raced against down in Florida. His memorial race, 2,064 to win at Peoria. And then we are picking the USRA Modifieds at Mississippi Thunder on Friday. And they got new catch fence in. They are doing some cool shit at Mississippi Thunder. Worth getting to that place if you haven't been there. And then Wagaman's Ogilvie Raceway in Ogilvie, Minnesota. They're opening up Saturday. We're picking some races there. So, guys, really quick, right? Just pick one, right? What race or event or whatever, what specifically are you guys looking forward to most this weekend? Bert, you go first.
Well, and the reason is, I mean, we talked about the reason early in the show, but the Mars late model shows, just shows in the Midwest are really good.
I would agree. There's going to be some hitters, right? We're talking Pearson's going to be, I think he's going to be there Friday, Saturday. I'm not sure about Thursday. I know that Sheppy's going to be there. Obviously you're going to have Jason Fager, Unziker. I think those races, I believe, are on Flow. So if you're not in the area, you want to catch it, I think them are on Flow, but they should be really, really good for sure. Changa, what are you most excited about this weekend?
World Outlaw Sprint Cars going to the mecca of sprint car racing, right? I mean, we're going to Knoxville, and we're going to have some high limit guys there. We're going to have arguably all of the best going to the mecca of sprint car racing, and that excites me.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, when you think sprint car racing, Knoxville's that comes to mind for sure. I'm going to go kind of more of a local type show. I'm looking forward to the modified racing at Mississippi Thunder because USMTS is off this weekend. So I think you're going to see several of the USMTS drivers there kind of doing a little test and tune, right? Because they have $100,000 to win race here in the not so distant future. So I think they're going to try to get a few races in at Mississippi Thunder while they can. So I'm super looking forward to that. And then we're not picking it, but kind of looking forward to that street stock race, stock car race, whatever they call them, UMP stock cars, I think, over at Kankakee. See if we can get that 83 right into victory lane. So bold predictions. All right, we're going to jump into our bold predictions segment. We got one segment after that. We're going to do a starting lineup for our late model A main for the area. You ain't going to want to miss that. That's going to be kind of fun. But our bold prediction, guys, we had a few come off the board. Okay. And off the board, I got a couple notes here too that I gotta rip out here. So bear with me. So Bert, first of all, you had a couple come off the board, and the one primary one, back in March because you weren't on the show last week, episode 252. The Lucas Oil late models raced at Atomic and they raced at Brownstown, and one of your predictions was you did the Coach Kraus type of prediction. 6 different podium finishers. Not like I was like, holy shit! All right, that's bold. Like 6 different. Well, RTJ and Moran both were on the podium both nights, so you got that one wrong. Uper had a couple come off the board. Episode 253, a couple shows ago. He said the Cedar Lake Speedway would not get a race in. The outdoor track would not get a race in before April 21st. Bullshit. Bullshit. They got one in. So he got that wrong. He also said this last show, the Illini 100. Illini drivers would finish second and third both nights, but they would not win. There would not be a winner from the Illini state. And of course, that proved to be wrong because Brandon Shepard got it done. So that was incorrect. And then he said that Donnie Schatz would have a pair of podiums at I-55, and he did bring him a little bit of good luck, but not quite good enough. 6 and a third there for Schatz. Got that wrong, but he did get one right here a couple weeks back. The Hunt the Front race, Talladega. They had a pair of late model races, and he said there would be 50 or more late models there each night. And they had a last minute entry on the first night to get them to 50, and they had 54 the next night. So we got that one right. Myself, I had a couple come off the board. We're going to go back to episode 252, Salina High Banks, the XR race that they had down there. I said that Cade Dillard, Jim Chisholm, and Mason Ziegler would all finish in the top 5. Well, Chisholm won. Dillard probably should have if he didn't have a tire go down. Ziegler DNF, so I got that one incorrect. Then I did apparently I don't want to get anything on the board, so I did a parlay here this last weekend. 3 of 4 parlay. So the first one I said Illini drivers would win both nights at the Illini 100. Well, only one won. Only one won. I said the car counts would be up in both the modifieds and in the late models. Well, in 2024, the modifieds were 47 and 45. Lates were 45 and 44. They went down in both. Mods were 34 and 33. Still a good show, but a dozen down. Late models were 42 and 40. So I got that one incorrect. I also said that the World of Outlaw late models, now I needed 3 of 4. I got 2 of 3. I said the World of Outlaw late models, at least 50% of the podiums would be World of Outlaw late model drivers. Well, that I had Pierce. I had what was it? It was Pierce. Who the hell was it here? Oh, it was Dotson, RTJ, and Shirley. So I had Dotson and Shirley, both World of Outlaw guys. And then it was Sheffy, Pierce, Troutman, and Pierce and Troutman. I had 4 of 6. So I did get that one right. The fun one I did, though, I said the podiums and the mods both nights. I said at least 50% of the podium finishers would be drivers with the name Mike. Okay. Well, that absolutely happened because night number 1 was a sweep. Mike McKinney, Michael Long, and Michael Ledford. Night number 2, Michael Ledford, and then Cole Thalloway and Michael Long. So 5 of the 6 on the podium in the mods were the name Mike. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit for modified dirt racing. If you know, you know, right? So I got that one wrong. And Changa, you had some come off the board here as well. You had a couple wrong, couple right, couple wrong, couple right. Episode 253, Hunt the Front at Talladega, you said none of the drivers that were in the top 10 in points would finish on the podium. That was incorrect. You also said at least 2 of last year's opening night winners at the Cedar Lake Speedway would win again this year. Well, last year, Sam Mars won the late model, Peyton Hansen in the mod, Matthew Larson in the super stock and in the USRA late, Brandon Jensen in the B mod, Cam Schaefer in the traditional sprints, and 0 of them won. 0 of them won this past weekend. But you got 2 right here, Changa. You said at the XR Salina High Banks $100,000 to win race. It was the XR Dominator, I believe was what it was called. You said there would be 5 different chassis builders in the top 5 in the feature. Jim Chisholm in a Skyrocket. You had Wheeler in a CDR. You had TP75, Terry Phillips in a Bloodline, Jesse Stovall in a Vanderbilt, and Jake O'Neill in an LG. Ding, 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 ding. You got that one right. Boy, I tell you what, that tells you right there, guys. The modified parity in chassis builders is a real thing, right? It's not like late models where it's all Longhorns. That parity in the mod is a real thing. You also said this weekend, the combination of Bobby Pierce, Nick Hoffman, Ryan Gustin would have a better average finish than Devin Moran, Garrett Alberson, and RTJ. Well, you need to send old Devin Moran a thank you because that absolutely came true right there. So you got that one right. So we keep track of correct predictions and correct percentages. Leading the way right now in correct percentages is that would be Changa. Changa leading the way with 2. You got 2 correct. We're just getting this deal started a couple weeks back. You're at 33.3%. You're leading the way. Uper has 1 correct. He's at 20%. Bert, you and I, the golden goose egg. We are still not on the board. We got some work to do. Bert, we're going to have to lay down some bunts. We're going to have to get a little tap in, right?
I was just going to say my predictions are a little bit too bold.
All right.
I didn't even think that was right.
Yeah, we're not like Changa here that just like, oh, I'm just going to bunt every time. We're going to bunt. Just kidding. All right. So let's make 3 laps around the track here. And we'll have 3 predictions from each of us. And we'll start with Bert. We'll go to Changa. We're going to go to, then I have Uper. That's our statistician. And then I got mine. So Bert, your first prediction.
Mars features. Doesn't matter how many they run. Every feature race, the podium will be Illinois drivers.
Oh,
all Illini drivers on the podium every night of the Mars this weekend. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not the whole season, this weekend. Okay. All right. Changa.
Well, that kind of usurped my first one. I was going to go Illinois drivers win all 3 Mars races, but
see, a bunt. That's a bunt.
Bert, you see why he's winning? He did bunt.
Let me ask you this. When I say that, I'm saying all 3 have to not cancel either. I'm saying all 3.
So you're saying all 3. So you're gonna go with that, and you're basically also
3
it's a parlay.
So happen.
It's a parlay. So you're basically saying all 3 are gonna happen. All 3 are gonna happen, and they will all 3 be Illini drivers. Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. So all 3 races will happen, and
saying I have not looked at the weather either.
Yeah, I have not either yet. So probably gonna rain now that you said that. Way to fuck that up for everybody. All right. Uper's first prediction here. He's gonna go the World of Outlaw Sprint Car event. Neither one of the nights at Knoxville for the World of Outlaws will be won by a World of Outlaw regular. So a non World of Outlaw regulars will win both nights at Knoxville. Okay. All right. Bert.
Seems like a punt, but it's all right.
Bert. Cover your ears. I'll give you a thumbs up when we're good. Turn your volume down, cover your ears.
I can't turn my volume down.
Okay, cover your ears. Are you ready? Can you hear us? Not if you can hear us right now. Okay. Close your eyes for a minute. Okay. In our late model prediction, Changa, Bert will take at least 2 Eastern Wisconsin late model drivers.
Punt.
I need to get on the board there, big guy. Need to get on the board. All right. He's got his eyes closed and his ears plugged. Now he can't see us or hear us. Well, all right, Bert. All right. So
Bert, did you hear it?
My prediction, Bert, could come off the board in this show. Okay. It could come off the board in this show. All right, Bert, second lap around the track. What do you got?
Donnie Schatz in the features will have a better average finish than David Gravel.
Holy crap. All right. I like that.
See, this is why I'm not on the board.
Right. Hey, well, I mean, it's better than, playing mini putt-putt for the last 5 years.
Yeah, all that shit we gave you for a couple of years, you're like, oh, I'm not taking that shit anymore. With that said, man, I hope you're right. I do. I hope you're right. So Donnie Schatz, better average finish than David Gravel. Okay. I like it. Changa.
All right. I'm going to go to the Spring Nationals. And I'm going to go 6 different podium drivers.
All right. And that's at I-75 and Tazewell this weekend. And if one of them rains out, obviously it don't count because, yep. So if they both get in, 6 different podium drivers over the 2 nights at I-75 and Tazewell this week. All right, Uper's second prediction here, and he's gonna go the kind of a parlay here. 3 or more of the following drivers will win at least one A-main this weekend. Okay. Shane Sabraski. Okay, that's a bunt. 3 chances per night. Probably only going to race one night, though. All right, so Sabraski, Bobby Pierce, Jason Fager, Hudson O'Neal, and Turbo Tyler Erb.
3 or more will win at least one?
3 or more will win at least one. So Huddy, we know, is going to be at Paragon for his grandpa's memorial race. Turbo is going to be at I-75 and down at Tazewell. Yep. Jason Fager will be running the 3 Mars races. Pierce will be running for sure 2 of the Mars races, maybe a 3rd. And then, of course, Shane Sabraski probably just going to run Saturday, and he'll be in a late model modified and a super stock. So they're all at different places.
And it seems like a bunch.
Except for Fager and Pierce. I'm telling you. Turbo winning down there at I-75 that's tough. Yeah, I mean, he's got McDowell, he's got Marlar, right? He's got Owens, probably Ferguson. So yeah, that's an interesting one. All right. I'll take my second one here. And I am gonna go. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with the World of Outlaw sprint cars this week at Knoxville. All 4 of these drivers will have at least one podium.
Like it.
Okay. Right. Young Money, Kyle Larson, David Gravel, Logan Schuchart, and Donnie Schatz. All 4 of those drivers will see at least one podium this weekend at Knoxville, assuming both races happen. Because clearly 4 drivers can't get on the podium in one race. Okay. So both races have to happen or don't count, but all 4 of those drivers, if they both happen, we'll see at least one podium. All right. White flag in the air. Bert Lehman, your final pick. Prediction.
Dale McDowell will win at least one feature this weekend.
All right. The old Mac Daddy. Good down there for sure. Changa?
Well, I'll take a page out of your book and go to the dirt car modifieds, and I'm gonna say an all Mike podium. Mike, Michael, Mikey, or any variation, all Mikes on the podium.
At Peoria?
At the dirt car modified, UMP.
The one that we're picking. Yeah, so at Peoria, the Gary Cook Memorial. Okay. So all Mikey podium. All right. All Mike, Michael, Mikey, whatever it is. Uper's third and final prediction. I want to talk about a bunt. Here's a bunt. Knoxville will have 48 or more sprint cars both nights this weekend.
They've got 60 pre-registered.
What the fuck? Freaking Uper. Unbelievable. Okay, we'll give them a quarter of a point for that nonsense. All right, I'm going to take another little parlay here. I'm going to go Mars Late Model Racing this weekend. The Rocket Brandon Shepard will have at least 2 podiums this weekend. And Bobby Pierce will win at least one of the nights of the Slocum. So Sheppy with at least 2 podiums this weekend, Pierce with at least 1 win this weekend. All right, so that is that's our predictions for the week. Let's jump into our final segment of the show, the One to Go Show Armchair Driver Rankings. Kind of a little bit of a call out to the power rankings we did. Brought to you by our friends at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So Buck, of course, the founder of this great company, in the Hall of Fame at NASA, specifically for lubricants. And I tell you what, the guy's super smart. You're going to want to check out their info on Facebook, on their website. But they have so much stuff, right? They got tire cleaners, tire treatments. Those tire treatments, you can doctor up tires and you use them for practice, or if you're a low budget guy and you're like, I'll doctor up my tires and race them. It ain't legal. You probably get in trouble if they test them, right? But the fact is, they have some great products. They have, assembly lubes and gear oil, power steering fluid. I mean, they have so much different stuff out there. Give Chad a call if you want. I mean, he's more than happy to talk to you. He's the regional rep. His number 507-828-3536. Give him a call, learn about these products, and check them out online. Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So, guys, here's what we're going to do. So, Bert, we did this last week. Did you listen to the show last week, Bert, since you weren't on it?
What is wrong with you?
He fucking hates us. Hates us. Absolutely hates us.
That's a dick move.
That is bullshit. All right. So here's what we did. I want you to picture in your mind, okay, that we're doing a 20 race throughout the whole Wissota region, including eastern Wisconsin, okay? We're going to include eastern Wisconsin because word on the street is they could be Wissota next year at a track or two. So we're going to...
From last week still?
Huh?
Do you have the results from last week still?
Yeah, not in front of me, but I do have them. So essentially what we're doing, Bert, is imagine a 20 race series, throughout the whole entire Wissota region, variety of tracks, right? No specific track, but a variety. But here's the kicker.
I'll be back.
Okay, so it's a 24 car invite only field. Okay. We get to pick which 24 cars are going to be in this traveling series. What would be most exciting for the racing, the fans, right? The drama, all of the above, right? Who are the best in our region that race Wissota late models? Okay. Last week we did modifieds, and essentially what we'll do is, Bert, do you have a piece of paper in front of you?
Yeah.
Rip up 3 pieces and just put like Ryan, Bert, and Changa on it. So we'll do like so that way we can have an order. and then we'll just do a snake draft since there's 3 of us, and we'll fill out a 24 car field is what we're gonna do. Okay.
So what do you want me to do?
Put all 3 of our names on them and draw the order of what we're picking.
Okay.
Put them in your hat. Cheat if you want. It don't matter.
Okay, we got Changa.
Okay, Chong is the first pick. All right.
No, that's not the first pick.
Oh,
Bert. I'm just showing you that I
Okay.
have all the
All right.
names.
all right.
All
All right,
right.
Chonga, watch this shit. Go ahead, Bert, pick.
All
And
right.
with this pick, Bert Lehman
I
selects.
got a box.
All right. Holy shit, he's prepared.
Bert.
Fucker palmed it. Cheating motherfucker. Jesus.
Changa.
All right, so I get
Ryan.
the turn. I get the turn. I get the first turn. We're gonna do snake draft style. All right, Bert, you're the first pick. 24 Wissota Lake. Now, we're gonna include the Dirt Kings group in this because a lot of them guys run Wissota shows, right? So a lot of them are Wissota legal. So anybody in the Dirt Kings realm, we're gonna factor into this equation. Just for the hope that down the road they're Wissota over there and we might see these guys. If it pays enough, they'd have a motor and they'd be there. All right, Bert, your
All
first
right.
pick.
So we're doing 8 picks.
24 car field. 24 car field. We're picking the 24.
All right.
And if you quickly pick the name, and if you want to say if there's any specific reason, like this is why, sometimes they're self-explanatory.
I'm going with the first pick of the One to Go Show late model draft. Bert Lehman is taking TPO.
Oh, Chonga, he sniped you. All right.
Wissota National Championship 20 feature wins. The one TPO Tyler Peterson.
All right. TPO.
All right. So you want me to go second?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll take the low-lying fruit, and I'll take the Iron Man, Shane Sabraski.
You guys left my number 1 pick on the board. I like it. My big board number 1 pick. I'm going to take Cole Searing, number 1. That's my first pick. Now it's snake draft, so I get to go back again.
Yep.
Now, this is where it gets tough. Them are the first 3, kind of makes the most sense, obvious reasons. Now, boy, when the money's on the line, I got 2 guys here, and one I really want to pick, one I feel like I really should pick. Okay.
I know both of the guys.
I know you do. I just got to stick with the number. I gotta go Dustin Strand.
That's exactly where I thought you'd go.
Yep. Dustin Strand is extremely talented, and what if there's grip on the track, a cushion, he is absolutely lights out to watch, but he can win on about everything. So I'm going to take the 71 of Dustin Strand. All right. Chonga.
Well, God, I can't snipe Bert's guy because that would not be nice.
Yeah, what he sniped you.
Yeah, no, he didn't snipe me.
Take who you want to take.
No. If we're going, let me look at. I'm going to go AJ Demel.
Now that sniped me.
That was my second pick.
AJ Demel hasn't quite raced as much in the last couple of years, but one of the most talented drivers of our region ever. And AJ Demel, absolutely an outstanding wheelman in that 58. Good pick. He'd be a good addition to our series here. Bert, you got the turn here. You get back-to-back picks here.
I'm going to take Shane Edgington.
Wow, I did not expect that. Shane Edgington, solid runner from up north of the border, limited on the win count, having a hard time beating that 7A or a 71, I should say, over there. But Shane Edgerton, solid pick. I did not expect him to be your next pick.
And then I will take Nick Anvelink.
Nick Anvelink.
I should have
Nick,
sniped Anvelink just to make you get the freaking. Well, we'll go there later, but
yeah, Nick Anvelink, extremely strong runner.
Well,
of
no,
course.
I was gonna take AJ, and then I was gonna take Anvelink.
yeah.
Right. So
All right,
Edgerton is gone, and Anvelink. Okay. All right. So Changa, your third pick here.
I'm gonna go with Chad Becker.
Multi-time national champion. A lot of people said, "Oh man, he's only good in South Dakota," until he came to the Wissota 100 a couple years back and won that too. So Chad Becker, hell of a race car driver out there from Aberdeen. Boy, you guys left me my next pick. I am super pumped. I got the turn here, and my next pick is going to be one of the best race car drivers that this region has seen. I'm going to go Ashley Anderson. Ashley Anderson in the 81. Absolutely phenomenal race car driver. Okay. So my second one here on the turn. I am gonna take well, I have somebody from that. I got somebody from Wisconsin. I got somebody from he's Minnesota, but he's Grand Forks driver. I don't really have anybody in between. I don't have a South Dakota guy. When the money's on the line, you got to take the old gunslinger. Why is he fast? Because his car is faster than everybody else's. The Double One Express, Pat Dorr.
Love it.
All right, Changa.
Well, shit. I don't have a favorite on this list. I really, really don't have a favorite on this list. Oh, I remember we discussed that late models were much easier than modifieds. I'm finding late models harder than modifieds.
Really?
Yes.
There's a lot of good ones on the list.
There's tons of ones, but they all seem to be close to the same to me.
I literally got 40. I got 40 on the big board here. I got 40 of them.
I stopped at 28. Figured our boy Bert would fill in a whole bunch that I've never heard of.
So you're overthinking this deal. Why don't you just take the next guy on your big board?
Well, there's no particular order. That's the problem.
Oh,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the young gun. I'm gonna go Sam Mars.
solid pick. Sam's gotten fun to watch. He's not afraid to throw the old haymaker slider. He can be smooth when he has to. Of course, Dad, Hall of Famer, one of the best to strap in. And then, of course, his grandpa, right? Paul Gilbert was a good racer back in the day, too. So Sam Mars, really, really good pick there. Bert, you got the turn. Back-to-back picks.
Is Shane Sabraski still available?
Really?
No, I did.
No, he's fucking terrible. Nobody would pick him.
Didn't you hate being in fantasy drafts and somebody would
Yes.
you're in the 20th round and is Babe Ruth still available?
Right.
I am going to go with Jake Radetsky.
Red Jet Ski.
0 feature wins last year.
With the Packer helmet.
0.
Oh, that's why.
He had 0 Wissota wins. He probably maybe won at Cedar.
Probably, yeah.
And this guy's been branching out.
Oh, yeah, I know where he's going here.
Chad Mater.
Wow. That's not what I expected, but good pick.
Chad Nader. Okay. Okay. All right, Changa, back to you.
I gotta cross off some names here. Chad Mater. Okay, well, let's see what we can do here. I'm gonna go west, and I'm gonna do Mike Gresseth.
You're not on the turn, so don't pick again.
Right.
That was my next
I
pick.
don't ever get to turn, Ryan.
You are correct. It was between Door and Gresseth. That's Gresseth is super solid. All right. All right, we got I'm going to take a guy with my next pick that hasn't really raced a lot of late models in recent years. Multiple championships with Soda, Challenge Series championships as well. With my 5th pick in the 2025 with Soda late model draft, I'm going to take the millennial farmer, Zach Johnson. And now I'm on the turn. Do I go Wisconsin? Do I go Minnesota?
Is that a question?
Yeah, fair enough, right? 24 car field, variety of tracks. You're going to have some short tracks, big tracks, sticky, dry, elbows up, you name it.
We'll probably go to Illinois for a couple.
Right? Maybe. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. I am going to take, with the 6th pick, Nitro James G.O.A.T. I'll take G.O.A.T. A lot of value there. Didn't he won the opener at Cedar, right?
Yeah.
I got him in the 6th round here. That's good value there on G.O.A.T.
He was
right.
he was my next pick.
I
If he got to me.
Bird. All right.
So
I like to hear.
I can't even tell you who my next pick is, but in the grand scheme of like sabotage, my next one will be Mike Mullen.
Is it up to me?
Yeah, I'm flipping off Changa for everybody. Mike Mullen. All right, Mike Mullen. All right, Mighty Mike in the '99. He's fun to watch. Actually, he's really good. All right, Bert.
I for my first pick.
You already had T with your first pick.
Well, with my first of 2 picks, I'm going to take the hammer, Daryl Nelson.
Damn it.
And then I am going to take Scott Ward.
Nice.
Ward. That's a good pick. Another checkers or wreckers, guys. But when he's on his game and focused, he's as good as anybody. Scott Ward, definitely a solid pick there. All right.
Bert, did you not even have a list and you're pulling all this out?
I printed the point standings from Wissota last year.
Oh, you don't have no Eastern Wisconsin guys on there.
Well, no, I wrote the Eastern Wisconsin
Oh,
guys
I
up
got
at
you.
top.
I got you. I got you. All right, Changa,
Well,
your seventh pick.
so in the grand scheme of, I hope this guy listens because I'm gonna pick him 2 weeks in a row. I'm gonna go with Johnny Broking.
It's a good pick. Johnny's fun to watch. He's another
I'm
elbows
going
up
him with
guy
my-
that.
he's
Yep. Yep. He's our boy. All right. So it looks like I'm on the turn here for my seventh and eighth pick. So I don't have anybody in South Dakota yet. And I feel like that on our series there'd probably be some races over that direction. And well, there's three, right? That and then I look out west and another guy I feel like probably could be in the conversation, especially out west there is Castro. But it's hard to pick a rookie probably. He's a rookie last year. He had a good year though. Jeremy Castro transitioned nicely into that late model out there. Another rookie that transitioned nicely that was fun to watch is League Rose. He was pretty quick. He had some good nights last year. But I'm going to take a veteran driver from South Dakota with my next pick just to have somebody from South Dakota. I'm going to take Josh Skorcheski.
That's what I thought it was gonna be. Like the pick though. Like the pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take Josh. Josh runs really well out in South Dakota. He doesn't venture too far away from there, but he runs well at home for sure. So then I got one more pick for my final pick. Well, there's another one I probably could have picked. I didn't even circle him from South Dakota. Stearns would have probably been a good pick as well. But I'll go with Josh. I'll take Josh. I'm going to take somebody from up north. Somebody that runs extremely well at all the northern tracks up there. And I'm going to take our boy. I'm going to take Kyle Peterlin. I'm going to take Kyle Peterlin. Boy, he won. There was 4 big money shows in Hibbing a couple years back, and he went 4 for 4. He won 3 Labor Day shootouts in a row. Didn't really matter who came in on the Challenge Series. He sent them home. So Kyle Peterlin, I'll take the old 23 ride from up in Hibbing. All right.
Nice.
So that puts it back to Changa for your final pick.
So with my final pick, I should probably be in sabotage mode still. But I won't. I won't. Just I'll give you a chance, okay? I'm gonna give you a chance, and I won't sabotage the whole freaking deal. I'm gonna go with another one of our boys and take my buddy Kevin Burdick.
It was between him and Kyle. But when the money's on the line up there, I feel like Peterlin is just a little stronger at home. But but Kevin Burdick is our boy. I mean, we are 1000% Dirty 30 fans on this show.
I'm just mad that I didn't get Nelson, right? I had a whole bunch of my boys.
Right. All right. So there is still freaking 20 solid picks here that you could take, Bert. So anywhere from the Dakotas, Minnesota, Eastern Wisconsin, anywhere in between.
You're gonna give yourself a concussion.
I'm going to take. You have nobody from the northern. Well, I have.
They're covered. You're not going to be a homer and just take somebody from.
Stop it.
I'll take.
The name's already written down, Ryan.
Taylor Scheffler would be a really good pick right now.
Oh, I didn't even consider those drivers. Actually, he would be a good pick. Actually, I am going to take Taylor Scheffler.
Yeah.
Why not Mitch McGrath?
Oh, Bert, you know what my first prediction was in the bold predictions?
No.
Bert's gonna take at least 2 Eastern Wisconsin guys.
So
That's why I tried to sabotage and take one.
Thanks, buddy.
well, I didn't even consider the Plymouth guys.
How about Mitch McGrath?
All
He would
right,
be a good one too.
boy, we got some snobs, guys. We got some snobs. Yeah. Glad I planted that seed and told you who to take. That worked out well.
Bullshit, Bert. You wouldn't have picked that if he didn't put it in your ear. I think that's
Well, no, I wouldn't
I
have
think
picked him if he wouldn't have put it in my ear because I wasn't even thinking. It was for
So
me. It was
that's
actually
board in the bold predictions. I love it.
It was
Hear me
between
out, Bert.
Masson
That's
Gill and
cheating.
Brad Singh.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game. All right, so our snubs, guys, our snubs. I mean, listen to this list. I'm in no particular order here, right? John Canta,
Yeah.
Troy Springborn,
Yep.
Ryan Michelson, Jeffrey Massengill, Cole Schill, Jeff Provenzino, Matt Gilbertson, Kent Arment, Danny Vang, Don Shaw, Dave Moss, Lee Gross, Travis Budaslavich, Jeremy Castro, Bartender, right? You got Bargender in the 10, Jesse Glens, Mike Stearns, Colin Hibden, and Aaron Turnbull. Aaron Turnbull would have been a sleeper pick. So here's our starting lineup. Our 24 car field for the One to Go Show late model invite only series. Bert's team: Tyler Peterson, Shane Edginton, Nick Anvelink, Jake Radetsky, Chad Mater, Daryl Nelson, Scott Ward, and Taylor Scheffler. Changa, your team: Shane Sabraski, AJ Demo, Chad Becker, Sammy Mars, Mike Gresseth, Mighty Mike Mullen, Johnny Broking, and Kevin Burdick. And then my team: Cole Searing. I said I didn't have anybody from South Dakota as my first pick. How about that? I'm kind of fucking stupid sometimes. All right. Cole Searing, Dustin Strand, Ashley Anderson, Pat Dorr, Zach Johnson, James Giassi, Josh Gorcheski, and Kyle Peterland. So, Bert, if there was a 24 car series like that with those 24 cars guaranteed to be there every night, on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested would you be in watching that event?
At 12.
Yeah, that's and that, I mean, that's not even calling me. There's so many that we just mentioned, plus more that got snubbed. But I mean, that just goes to show that in our region, there's some good late model drivers, and we'll talk about this on an upcoming show. But a friend of the show, Brent, put together a like over the last 5 years, I think it was, car counts going up or down in throughout Wissota and throughout USRA. The only class in Wissota where the car counts have increased is late models. It's crazy. Yeah, late models on the rise. So some good field of cars there. But yeah, I think we put together a pretty good field. That was a heck of a lot of fun. But that's episode 255 in the books, and always fun chatting racing with you boys. Get to the track, fans, if you can this weekend. Going to be some good racing going on, and if you can't, jump online. Changa, they're showing the proud new sponsor of the World of Outlaws late models. What is it? The Real American Beer? Is that what that is?
It's Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer, brother.
Nice. Well, you better chug it on here then for everybody. You should.
Wait, Bert, you were the only one. Ready?
Oh, not anymore. We got Changa. Yeah, so I'm the only one that hasn't. But there you have it. So yeah, get to the races. Let us know if anything comes up. Let us, put some comments below. Share, like. And everybody have a great Easter as well. Easter Sunday, of course, this weekend. I want everybody to have a great Easter with their family. remember the reason for the season for sure. Changa?
I want to file an appeal. I want you to put this to Jeff and Kraus. You baited Bert into you winning a freaking point. You were not going to win that. He was totally going to go Massengill or Singh, and you talked him
Don't
into it. That is
don't
cheating.
I didn't talk him
want
into it. I just
investigation.
mentioned a name. I just mentioned a name because
No.
I'm
Investigate.
helping him because it slipped his mind.
Bert,
Don't
what do you
hate the
think?
player, hate the game. There is
He cheated, didn't he?
I don't see a rule saying that I couldn't do that.
I just made the freaking rule.
Too late. Too
It's
late.
not like
So for moving
this rule,
forward,
it
that's
says
no
cheating.
longer allowed. That's no longer allowed. Moving forward, that's no longer allowed. I will say it's very nice. It feels refreshing to already get one of my bold predictions off the board, and get.
Bert, he
I'm
cheated.
super happy about that. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Burt Lehman, for that. So that thank you very much. All right, everyone. Happy Easter and cheer for the One to Go show cars this weekend. 83 racing over at Kankakee, and I'm sure Blake Adams will be in the house somewhere. So we'll keep an eye on the 40D. Probably going to be racing the Midwest Mod title hunting. So good luck to both of them drivers this weekend. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go show.